Hello, 8th grade. Welcome to our first video on the Pythagorean Theorem. And we are going to be practicing with the Pythagorean Theorem in lesson 7.1. It is on page 1 in your second workbook. So make sure you have that ready. If you'll recall, the Pythagorean Theorem says that in a right triangle, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Pythagoras found a relationship where a is a leg, b is a leg, and c is the hypotenuse. So Pythagoras found a relationship that if you were to square the measurement of the two legs and add them together, the sum is the same thing as what you would get if you squared the hypotenuse. And we can use that relationship to solve problems. Basically what we're going to do is I'm going to do a few with you, and then you're going to do some on your own. Lesson 7.1, we are dividing into two parts. So we will do part 1 today, and then the second video would be part 2. All right, so let's get started. 1 and 2 asks you to shade two right triangles and label the hypotenuse of each triangle with an arrow. Now 1, there are several you can choose from. Remember that the hypotenuse is the longest side. So if I were to shade a right triangle on number 1, it may be this one. Okay, so we just shade it. Now the triangle has 3 sides. There's this side, and then this side. These two, the two sides that make up the right angle in the right triangle, are your legs. The hypotenuse is always opposite of the right triangle, and it is also the longest side of a right triangle. So if I were to shade this, not spell today, hypotenuse. So if I were to shade this, this is my right triangle and this is the hypotenuse. I want you to do the same thing. Find another right triangle in figure 1, shade it and label the hypotenuse, and then find 2 right triangles in number 2. So 3 through 6 asks you to find the value of x. In each of these, x is an unknown. So we will put in what we know, and then we will solve for the unknown. So I'm going to set up 3 with you and let you solve it, and then we'll do 5 together. So let's look at number 3. We've got a side length of 7, a side length of 24, and a side length of x. We've got to figure out, is x a leg or a hypotenuse? Well, it is a hypotenuse, and if it's a hypotenuse, I need to put that for c squared. So it's 24 squared plus 7 squared equals x squared. So we're going to write that down, 24 squared plus 7 squared equals x squared. And you may use a calculator. You're going to add, you're going to find the square of 24 and the square of 7, add them together, and that will tell you what x squared is. Be careful though, because we don't want x squared, we want to know what x is. So we'll have to unsquare it. That means find the square root. All right, let's do 5 together. We set up 3, but let's do 5 together. Our known is 10 and 26. Our unknown is x. The question, is x a leg or a hypotenuse? Well, it is a leg, okay? 10 is also a leg, and then 26 is the hypotenuse. It's important that you think about which it is so you'll know where to put our unknown. So our legs are 10 and x. So we're going to have 10 squared plus x squared equals 26 squared. Okay. So you may use your calculator for this. So let me get started. 10 squared I know is 100 plus x squared equals, I don't know 26 squared off the top of my head. So we will do 676. 676. And then we solve it like an equation. We're going to subtract 100 from both sides. So we'll end up with x squared equals 576. Okay. I don't want to know what x squared is. I want to know what x is. So how do I unsquare a number? You find the square root. So I find the square root on the left side. I have to find the square root on the right side. So x squared, the square root of x squared is just x. Let's write this down here. So then I use my calculator, and you are going to find the square root of 576. Push enter. And the answer is 24. So x equals 24. So the leg x equals 24. The unit is centimeters. It is 24 centimeters long. All right, so 3 through 6 is fairly straightforward. You just put the numbers in the correct place on the formula and then solve. All right, 7 through 10 are a little bit trickier because you've got a more complex shape. So it says calculate each unknown side length, round your answer to the nearest tenth. So we're going to set one up, and then when we set it up, then we will do number 10 together. So let's set 7 up. So we need to find x and we need to find y. So what can we look for first? Well, first you need to have 2 known side lengths to find one unknown. So if I look over here at this triangle, I have 2 known side lengths. So I have to start with x. So x is a leg or a hypotenuse? Well, it is a leg. And then we've got this leg. And then we've got our hypotenuse. So we are going to set it up with x squared plus 8.8 squared equals 11 squared. Okay, and I'll do part of it with you. All right, I know this is x squared plus 8.8 squared is 77.44 equals 11 squared. I already know is 121. So we're going to subtract 77.44 from each side. That cancels out, leaving the x squared. 121 minus 77.44 equals 43.56. Okay, and I can already tell it's not going to be a really lovely number. The directions do say to round your answer to the nearest tenth. I want to caution you, don't do your rounding till the very end. Sometimes if you round too early, it will give you a different answer. So save the rounding till the very end. All right, x squared is 43.56. I don't want x squared, I want x. So I've got a square root. All right, square root of x squared is just x. The square root of 43.56 is, oh nice, 6.6. Okay, so I know that x is 6.6. That means this length is 6.6. Now that I know what this length is, I have 2 knowns, and I can figure out what my y is. So 6.6, that is a leg, 10 is a leg, y is a hypotenuse. So we are going to do new lead. 6.6 squared plus 10 squared equals y squared. So I want you to figure this one out the rest of the way on your own. Okay, let's look at number 10. Let me grab another pencil. Let's see. This work. All right, this one's a little bit tricky. I see this big right triangle, and then I see a little right triangle within. This triangle here, we can't do much with, but looking at this little line and this line means that whatever length this is, then this is the same length, okay? So if I find the length of this, then I will know what the length of X is. And if I know what the length of X is, then I can add this to 7 to find the length of the whole side, and then I can find Y. So my first step is to find what this is with our little one. Okay, 11 inches and 7 inches. They are both legs. Our unknown is the hypotenuse, okay? So we are going to do 7 squared plus 11 squared equals X squared. And again, if this is X, this is X, because these two little lines tell us they're the same length. 7 squared is 49, plus 11 squared is 121, and that equals X squared. If you were to add 49 and 121, just 49 plus 121 is 170. That's what X squared is. But again, I don't want to know what X squared is. I want to know what X is. So I'm going to square root both of them. The square root of X squared is X, 170. Oops. The square root of 170 is, oops, 13.03840, et cetera, et cetera. Now it asks us to round to the nearest tenth. Well, 0 is in the tenths place. The question is, do we leave it a 0 or do we make it a 1? Again, you look at the number next to it to the right, this 3. 3 says leave it alone. So X is 13.0. Okay, if X is 13.0, this is 13.0, and that means this whole length down here for the big right triangle is 13 plus 7, which is 20. So now I know this is 11 square, or 11, this is 20, and this is my unknown, okay? So X is 13, now I need to figure out what Y is. All right, 11 and 20 are legs, Y is my hypotenuse. So it's going to be 11 squared plus 20 squared equals Y squared. 11 squared is 121. 20 squared is 400. That equals Y squared. 121 plus 400 is 521. That's what Y squared is. I don't want to know what Y squared is. I want to know what Y is. So I've got to square root both sides. So Y is, let's see here, square root 521, enter, let me change it, is 22.825. We're rounding to the tens place, so the 8 stays an 8. So Y is about 22.8, and my unit is inches, and this is also inches. All right, class. I want to go over 11. Fritz Mohs two triangular fields determine which field is a right triangle. So we cannot tell which one is a right triangle, but you are going to put each of these in the Pythagorean theorem and see if it makes an equivalent, makes an equivalent equation. And if it works out, it is a right triangle. If it doesn't, It is not. So is it a true statement or not? So what I want you to do is figure out which one is right. And the others, 12, 13, and 14, they are just word problems. It's the same kind of thing. They even have a picture to help you. But you're going to use the Pythagorean Theorem to solve for the unknown in each word problem, okay? So your assignment is on this, starting at page 1, and you go through page 3, I believe. Yes, 3, 1 through 14. We did some of them together. Some of them you do, the rest you do on your own. Good luck. I do have office hours. So if you have a question, just call me or FaceTime me during those office hours and I can help you. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.